everybody, what's going on? Juan here, welcome back to the channel, and for this video we're going to be talking about the first game that we chose as part of the Press Pause Game Club, which, in case you don't know about the Press Pause Game Club, let me tell you about the game club. Imagine a book club, right, where people choose a book and they talk about it, they talk about the chapters or the entire thing itself. Well, it's kind of like that, but for video games. We actually have a full video talking about all the rules, all the details, plus the reveal of the first game, which was this, so I'll make sure to link to that at the end of this video. So this is going to be the review, if you will, of not just myself, but for those that participate on the Discord channel. We do have a channel. I'll make sure to link to that in the description. It's also like just right there, so you can write that. Because remember, it's a game club. It's not just about what I think. It truly is about what people thought about it. And don't forget that if you do like the type of videos I produce, you can definitely subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. Do all the traditional YouTube stuff just to help the channel grow. So the first thing is, why did we choose Ittle Dew 2 Plus? The first thing is that it's out on the Switch, which we love. Plus, it's got a physical release with a map. I mean, it's got cool stuff. It's got a manual. So how can you not go with something as cool as that? Also, it's worth noting that while it does say 2 right here, so it's technically a sequel, it in no way makes any references to the previous game. But if anything, I'm actually a little bit pumped to maybe go back down the line and revisit that one, because this game is pretty good. In terms of gameplay, going back to A Link to the Past, this has an overworld, right, where you can pretty much walk anywhere you want, and it's got a lot of action. As a matter of fact, I'll say it has more action than I thought it would initially, plus the puzzle elements are definitely there, and the difficulty, people, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but I'm not the only person that is part of the game club. When I went in, I'm like, whoa, man, I was not ready for this, because it's like this cutesy game. The last thing that you think is that, but it's like, oh, that's what they want you to think. They want you to think it's easy, and then bam, they destroy you up in the brain. The story for Ittle Dew 2 is very simple. You play as Ittle, go figure, and you're joined by Tipsy, which is this flying squirrel dog type thing, and you're both on a boat. Boat gets destroyed, and hey, guess what? You're stranded in an island, and you now have the quest to find 8 pieces of wood to rebuild the boat so you can get back. So it's very simple. You get the purpose, you know what you got to do, you know your objective, so it ends up being just about the journey for getting these 8 different pieces. What's really nice is that even though you got to get these 8 different pieces, you actually don't have a set order that you got to get them in. You know, you do have a suggested path. Even when you go into a map, there's a red arrow pointing, but you're not tied to that. So even though I did that, a lot of members of the game club went completely different routes. So when we chatted about different things, it was like, wait a minute, what are you doing? Are you playing the same game I am? Turns out they were having completely different experiences from the ones I had. And talking about the game club, we actually got 13 people participating for the first game, so I'm very happy about that, because I mean, hey, it's 13 people, myself included, that had to buy a copy of Ittle Dew 2. So people that participated include Nicole, which of course, I mean, she's part of all this. We got Alex Nation, Champa06, Amelie Highwind, TJ Kinder, The Ryan McNulty, Cote Taino, The Cynical Cypher, Mighty JR Gaming, The Wizard of Gore, Justin Bohannon, Liam V, and Juan. I feel like I should have put something else, like, I'm just going to keep it at Juan. So in this next part of the video, I'm actually going to be splitting it into 3 topics. The first one being things we liked about Ittle Dew 2 Plus, then the frustrations, the bad moments, the moments that made us almost break our controllers, and then the third one is what could be improved, what was not that great that maybe if they ever made a Ittle Dew 3, they could definitely work on. So I first want to start off the things we liked about Ittle Dew 2 Plus with a statement from one Cynical Cypher, which you can also check out his YouTube channel. I'll link to that in the description of this video. And he wrote, "The game was challenging, stylistic, had fun writing, and had a very nice charm to it that did make me want to engage with the game and actually explore the world, and as well as try to learn how to use the world and items to my advantage. Plenty of small things that were to be appreciated. Puzzles were difficult, but felt rewarding. Enemies were plenty, but not overwhelming. Strong balance, and position for everything." And you can actually see a lot of these things that he mentioned come into play right at the beginning of the game, because after you get the cutscene, you know, where they tell you you got to get these 8 pieces of wood, basically you're left there, and whatever you do is really up to you. You know, aside from the red arrow pointing you at the suggested path, you can go up, down, left, right, you can go to the beach, you can go to the end area of the game if you want to. I mean, you'll kind of get destroyed in the process, but the game does let you do that, so you actually build your own adventure. Alex Nation from Nivel Escondida mentioned that among his favorite favorite things. We got the art style and the boss fights, and of course, the puzzles. And that's what I want to get to right now, because I did not expect to see so many different puzzles come into play with this game. You know, you have the 8 primary dungeons, but don't think that it's just like 8 different places that you go to. You complete those and you're good to go. There are over 20 to maybe 30 dungeons, if not more, like these bonus ones that maybe you get a piece of a heart, you know, additional things that you don't have to ever do unless you want to, but it's really about the challenge that these provide. And the cool thing is that for the most part, you can complete most of these dungeons with your trusty weapon, which is a wooden stick. You unlock, you know, other things like TNT, you get some wands with fire and ice and things like that, but they bring it back to the very basics with the puzzles, more so than the weapons and the arsenal of things available to you. It really is about this. And as somebody that doesn't play a lot of puzzle games, a lot of times I would have my controller in hand. I mean, I played on the Switch, and I would do this. What in the hell do I gotta do to complete this puzzle? I would get frustrated, I would go get some coffee, I would come back, and I would still have no idea what to do. I would write on the Discord, people, what do I do here? And then 10 minutes later, it's like, of course, this is what you do. That, or Nicole grabbed my controller and actually did the thing for me. TJ Kinder wrote that while the combat is not all that deep, it was one of his favorite parts of the game, and I gotta agree, I was actually very surprised at how much I enjoyed the combat, which really boils down to very simple things. You know, you got the stick and you have a roll command, which the cool thing about the roll is that when you time it perfectly, while you're rolling, you can actually avoid taking damage. So say you have a fireball, you have a spike, you have an enemy, you know, trying to throw a beam at you. If you roll on command, you're never actually gonna take any damage, but hey, that is a lot easier said than done, because even by the end of the game, I was still getting killed. I probably died over 300 times in this game. This is not like Super Meat Boy levels of frustration, but it's up there. And yeah, the key thing about the combat is that you gotta master each and every little thing so you can dominate each battle, because they don't always play the same. You know, you have your long range and your short range enemies. You got the stick, but then you gotta make sure you master the roll. Later on, you get TNT, so maybe you actually go around your opponent and you keep, you know, spamming the TNT until they eventually explode. And with the fighting, you got to talk about the boss fights and people. If it wasn't for the Game Club, I may have given up on Ittle Dew 2+. And it's not that I didn't like the game, but holy crap, I must have died easily 15 to 30 times in most of the boss fights, especially like from, you know, Dungeon 4 and on. It's like, jeebus, man, what is going on here? Like, if a little kid got this game because the father, the parent, whoever saw this, and it's like, if you want to torture a child, people, you get them this game. And if they beat this, it's like, holy crap, okay, I think you got an esports professional coming down the pipeline in a couple of years. And the boss fight themselves are actually not that complicated once you really boil it down to basics. You know, it's all about rhythm and patterns. It's so easy to take damage, to forget about certain things, to forget about the combinations that you can do, that you get destroyed again and again and again, and sometimes you're going to be like just seconds away from destroying that boss, but your name is Juan, you're dumb, you're stupid, you mess up and you die, and you don't want to keep playing again, but then it's like, you can't just give up, man. You got to go along with it. The Ryan McNulty wrote that one of his favorite things about the game was the fourth wall breaking humor, and you have a very basic premise, so they just kind of like just have a lot of fun with that, especially, you know, Tipsy, your ally. Like, even he says like, oh, well, this is gonna happen now because this is the format. You know, he in no way tries to feel immersed in the story, and it lets you know that the developers are aware. You know, this is simply about doing this, but better, faster, stronger, progressively in each dungeon, and I was okay with it. Another thing that we loved about the game, and one of the main reasons we actually chose it as the first game for the Game Club, is that according to howlongtobeat.com, you could complete this game between 5 to 7 hours. So you could easily sit down and complete it in 1 or 2 sittings, kind of like Kotaino did, or you could do it like me, where it's like, okay, I'm gonna sit down, and my purpose for this session is to complete 1 dungeon. Or, as it usually happened, I'm going to try to beat the dungeon, get frustrated, and then turn it off and try again the day later. And we actually set up a couple of polls asking you guys that participated in the Game Club what you thought about Ittle Dew 2. And regarding the length, 75% of you said it felt just right between 5 to 7 hours, while 25% of people felt it was too short. And I could get that, right? Because this is $30 on the Nintendo Switch. So for $30, you know, is 5 to 7 hours of your time worth it? I mean, for some people it is. You know, you could get it for $20 on a PC or other consoles, but really that's just up to you. And even though I've talked about this on multiple occasions now, let's talk about the frustration factor of this game, which that's kind of a feature really in a game like this, you know, where it's about puzzles and the combat. It's about triumph, right? It's about trying, getting better, overcoming the odds. But that being said, that did not stop me from getting up and actually walking out. Now, without getting into spoilers, Amelie Highwind actually had a couple of things to say about this, specifically about the last dungeon, which everything about it, from the actual dungeon to the boss battle itself, was insane. There was just something about that dungeon that, unless you really thought outside of the box, outside of the things that you've done in the game up to this point, you were kind of stuck. We've talked about the things that we liked, the things that really frustrated us, so now let's get to talking about the things that maybe could be a little bit better regarding Ittle Dew 2. And the first thing is the actual free roaming aspect, because you can go anywhere in the game. All of a sudden, that difficulty spike comes in and you get destroyed. You can get very frustrated, maybe even stop playing because of it, but that's part of the charm, that's part of the journey and part of the progress that I think they expected when you play Ittle Dew. Another thing that Ryan wrote, and I completely agree, is that doing anything in a diagonal direction is very difficult. And even though this is a PS4 controller, let's just say it's a Switch controller or any other type of controller, traditionally with games like this nowadays, you play with the joystick, right? Not the D-pad. The thing is, there's a lot of points in Ittle Dew 2 where you gotta walk down these fine lines, or you gotta shoot a very specific way. If you don't get it exactly right, you fail, so you gotta find yourself switching back and forth between the D-pad and the joystick, and that definitely gets annoying. Cynical Cypher also said that there were far too many interesting mechanics like the dynamite and the freeze ring that were not used in interesting ways against bosses. And I'll go one step further, Cynical, in saying that this game missed a lot of opportunities to go from good or great to awesome, because towards the tail end of the game, without getting into too many spoilers, you unlock a lot of things, and those things for the most part make the game more difficult, but they make it kind of awesome because you gotta combine, right? For puzzles, for boss fights, there's a puzzle element to the combat itself that maybe you didn't have at the beginning of the game. And this is only a 6 to 7 hour game. It's like, whoa, like, why did you not do more of this earlier into the game? So I think it's just a lot of missed opportunities that if they ever do an Ittle Dew 3, you got to consider that, man. Like, take advantage of the fact that you have this sandbox of mechanics and things like that, like specifically the last boss. The last boss is unlike any other boss in the game. Seriously, from the actual battle to what you do to what you got to move around. And I was like, yo, I'm getting destroyed, but this is some of the most fun that I've had in the entire game, but this is the last boss. What's going on here? And as we begin to close down this video, let's not forget the purpose of the Press Pause Game Club. Number one, it's to finally start chopping down that backlog of video games that we have. But then on the opposite side, it gives us an opportunity to play games that we otherwise would never have played. So when talking about that, 75% of people said that if it had not been part of the Game Club talking about Ittle Dew 2, they would have never played it. We also got 12.5% saying that, yeah, maybe they would have played it, and another 12.5% saying that they weren't sure if they would have played Ittle Dew 2 if it wasn't part of the Game Club. And talking about a possibility of a sequel, 62.5% of the people said that yes, they would play it, count myself in that bunch, and 37.5 said no. So a lot of people that maybe got burnt out in those dungeons would be a little hesitant and scared to go back into this journey. But overall, and this makes me really happy, when asking people, would you recommend this game to a friend? Everybody said that yes, they would recommend this game to a friend, and I would too. So seriously, check this game out. It's available in most consoles, and it's a great experience. And to close that on a personal level about the Game Club itself, I really just want to thank each and every person that joined the club, joined the Discord, watched the previous videos, because I told Nicole, like, going in, I wasn't sure what to expect. You know, we've never done anything like this before. The videos, the Discord, the streams, every little thing. Maybe people just wouldn't care, but seeing the Discord be more active than ever before, people joining specifically because of the Game Club, and people that got stuck on certain parts of the game, and everybody else that got past that, you know, would try to advise that person without, you know, blatantly spoiling how to solve it. Like, that's what this is all about. It's not just about talking about the experience and what we liked and we didn't like. It's also about helping each other out. And you wouldn't get that in a book club, right? Because the book is there, you sit down and you read it. But with a video game, you know, sometimes, like, I do this all the time. If I get frustrated, I close it and I never play it again. And the fact that I beat Ittle Dew 2, and it's thanks to Nicole, thanks to Alex, thanks to Taino, everybody that pushed me to get through it, because I knew I could beat it and I wanted to break the backlog, and that's exactly what happened. So seriously, if you haven't, consider joining the Discord channel over at press-pause.net/Discord. Participate, with the Game Club. You know, for the month of March, we're playing BioShock, so there's going to be a video similar to this one about that one. We're going to be playing more games in April. Like, this is going to last, hopefully, as long as we're alive. So if we become old people, it's like, people, for the 85th game of the Game Club, we're going to play this. Like, oh my goodness, that was a really bad impersonation. But hopefully you enjoy the Game Club as much as I am, because I am having an awesome time with it. So with that being said, folks, if you like this video, if you like everything that I'm doing in this rectangle of entertainment, you can hit me with a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that notifications button, and let me know what you want to see, because this channel is not about video games and video game coverage. It's about a lot more than just that. It's truly about the community. And the reason that I always say an epic journey is that a journey consists of a lot of things, good things, bad things, different type of things. You know, as a human being, I enjoy all sorts of things, and I hope to be able to showcase them right here on Epic JC. So until next time, thank you for watching, and never forget, folks, that the epic journey continues. So thank you for watching, gang. Take care. Oh man, a lot of great memories with this one, seriously. Like, I didn't play the bonus dungeons, but I'm looking forward to going back, and that's not something I say often with games I've already beaten. So Ittle Dew, I hope you get a sequel, buddy. Mwah.